You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to N2K Cyberwire's Hacking Humans podcast, where each week we look behind the social engineering scams, phishing schemes, and criminal exploits that are making headlines and taking a heavy toll on organizations around the world. I'm Dave Bittner, and joining me is Joe Kerrigan from the Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute. Hey, Joe.
Hi, Dave.
We got some good stories to share this week, and we are joined once again by our N2K colleague and host of the T-Minus Daily Space podcast, Maria Varmazis. Maria.
Hey, good to see everybody again.
Good to have you back. Welcome back. And we will be right back after this message from our show sponsor. But first, a word from our sponsors at KnowBe4. We're not talking conspiracy theory when we say it's all connected. When it comes to InfoSec tools, effective integrations can make or break your security stack. Though not as common, the same should be true for security awareness training. Not only does KnowBe4 deliver the world's largest library of security awareness training, but they also provide a way to integrate the various elements of your existing security stack to help you strengthen your organization's security culture. Stay with us, and in a few minutes, we'll hear from our sponsors at KnowBe4 about how you can integrate security awareness with your tech stack like never before. All right, Joe, before we dig into our stories here, we've got a little bit of follow-up. What do we got?
Yeah, we do. Alex hit me up on LinkedIn and sent me a video link on YouTube of scam baiter Kit Boga. Do you know who Kit Boga is?
It sounds familiar to me.
He's the guy that does the old lady voices and sits there in sunglasses and wastes scammers' time.
Yep.
He actually has a relationship with Kraken, the cryptocurrency exchange.
Okay.
Because Kraken, a lot of these scams go on through cryptocurrency. Kraken has a vested interest in it. They're actually working with Kit Boga to get these scammers. I don't know what they're trying to do, but this is a video of him wasting the time of scammers who are running a pig butchering scam. And he's acting like he is a victim of a pig butchering scam where he sent some cryptocurrency to some third-party exchange and says, you got to call this number to get the currency. And he just wastes their time.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. So check out this YouTube link. It's about a half an hour, which is kind of short for one of his videos.
Okay.
His videos can run like 2 hours where he's just wasting time with these guys. The second piece we have is from Chloe. And she wrote a letter in about a situation that she has. I'm going to summarize the letter.
Okay.
Chloe has gotten 2 voicemail messages they're both from different women with different phone numbers, but similar phone numbers. And they have Southern accents, so they sound like they come from the southern part of the United States. And they're leaving voicemail messages claiming that they're from a background investigation service looking for a person, and they give the name of the person, who is trying to get access to a nuclear power plant.
That seems oddly specific to me.
It's a normal thing to happen to an average person. Yes.
It is, and I'll explain why in a minute, actually.
Okay. I stand corrected.
This doesn't stand out to me as all that abnormal, but
how often
Chloe
do you
says,
get asked for access to a nuclear power plant?
It's not. I'll get to it. Let's just go to through the story here, the backstory. The thing is that Chloe doesn't know anybody by this name, and that's why it kind of tipped her off that it might be a scam. So she went through the whole rigmarole of getting on Google Maps and looking around. There is a company that matches the description that's been there since 2013 on Google Maps, and there is a real company that has a phone number that has the same area code, but it's slightly different from it's actually different from the 2 telephone numbers that called her. And her question is, she's wondering if she's being a little bit paranoid. Does she call them back or not? Okay, so here's why this might be legit. Is because the Department of Energy, who is responsible for regulating a bunch of stuff here in the United States, including our nuclear power plants, has their own clearance system that is different from the Department of Defense's clearance system. So when you go to work for a Department of Energy contractor or for a contractor for a nuclear power plant, you have to undergo a background investigation through the Department of Energy, which it all makes sense. This adds up. This is very much like when someone goes to apply for a clearance at the Department of Defense and they have to provide references and then somebody has to call them.
Right.
The part that doesn't make sense is that Chloe is getting calls for someone she doesn't know. Now, they don't ask for the name of the person they're trying to call, which again makes Chloe think this is kind of a scam. This might be the front of a scam. I don't know. My thinking is maybe you call them back and you just say, I don't know this person, have a nice day. And that's it. And if they try to carry the conversation on, end it.
Yeah.
Or the other thing is just don't call them back.
Right.
Because they haven't provided you enough information, don't return the phone call. And you don't know this person.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll move on.
Wouldn't you know if someone you knew well enough was trying to get that kind of job? If you know someone well enough that they would be calling you, so it's not quite adding up to me.
I know people who have gone through this for the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
Coach Jerrigan had to do this once. So what happens is when I was doing this, I called people and said, I'm putting you down as a reference for a clearance.
Right, exactly.
So expect a visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not usually some random person. It's someone who knows you quite well.
Right. Yeah. You don't send one of these investigations out to talk to some stranger.
Or your neighbor. It's got to be like a family member or someone who know, like just real.
So they came and talked to my neighbors.
Wait,
I have a neighbor who who has more than once gone through this with the DOD, and he's put me down as a reference, and he gives me the heads up that these people are going to be calling, and sure enough, they do. And, we spend 10 or 15 minutes on the phone, and that's it. Yeah, it's called a periodic reinvestigation with the Department of Defense.
That's because you actually talk to your neighbors. That's why I live in New England. We don't do that. So that's the difference here.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So bottom line here, I think your advice is good. There's no real reason. There's certainly no obligation to engage with these people.
Right. Absolutely.
And if she ignores them, they'll probably just go away.
Right. And if this is legit, somebody has given somebody the wrong phone number. If it's not legit, it's a scam. Either way, don't return the phone calls is my advice.
Yeah. All right. Okay, well, let's move on to our stories here. Joe, you want to start things off for us?
Sure. My story comes from the BBC and Verma Simonette. That's a tough name to say. Verma Simonette and Kelly Ng are the authors. And apparently, 2 weeks ago, police in the Philippines raided a scam center that was about 100 kilometers north of Manila, which is the capital of the Philippines. And they freed over 650 people who were there being used as scammers in forced labor.
Right.
That includes 383 Filipinos, 202 Chinese, and 73 people from other nations, foreign nationals from other nations. So these people, what happens is these people come in. In fact, there's a story about how they found this out. There was, in January, a Vietnamese man in his 30s arrived in the Philippines after being offered a position that he was told was a chef's job. So he gets there, and the guy soon realizes that he has fallen prey to this human trafficking scam. And he's going to have to run romance scams and cryptocurrency scams.
Right.
So on February 28th, the man escapes from the facility by climbing a wall. He crosses a river. I don't know how big of a river it is.
Was it alligator infested?
I don't know.
Is it a moat? Yeah, okay.
In my mind, it is.
Right. And
is there a drawbridge? Yeah, okay.
He finds a farm where the farmer is kind enough to take him in, and the farmer is the one that notified police about this.
Does the farmer have any daughters? Because in my mind, he does.
Right.
This is the beginning of an epic
You're going right to that joke, those old jokes.
Sorry.
I'm also now thinking about those jokes. So
just sent you off the rails didn't I, Joe?
It does.
All right.
But what's happening here is they are going after young, tech-savvy victims who are lured with these other jobs for the job offers that aren't real. And when they get there, they are put into jobs that involve money laundering, crypto fraud, romance scams, and pig butchering, which is a combination of crypto fraud and romance scams.
Right.
So these people are not volunteers.
No, they're there under threat of violence.
Right. There's a guy named Winston Casillo who is the spokesman for the Presidential Commission Against Organized Crime, he said that those running the scam centers, trapped good-looking men and women to lure their victims. So they're not just looking for anybody. You have to be pretty attractive to be making the contact with these romance scams. And he added that there are several others who have tried to escape but were caught. We don't know what happened to them.
Yeah.
Police.
Scary.
It is
really scary. Jeez.
Police also seized 3 shotguns, 1 9mm pistol, 2 38 caliber pistols, and 42 rounds of ammunition from this area. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, as an American, that's a really small amount of guns and ammo.
For the rest of the world, it's an arsenal.
Right.
That's the most American thing you could possibly say.
Yeah.
That's baby stuff.
42 rounds of ammunition.
Let me know when you get started.
Yeah, I have more than that for 1 gun. Right. In May of last year, the Philippine authorities took out a scam center that had 1,000 people in it. And if you think about this, we're making light of this situation, but it really only takes 1 gun to scare everybody in that place.
Yeah.
Right? You just got to wave that around every now and then. And, people who are there, I don't want to be the guy that gets shot. And I'm just going to keep making these phone calls and sending out these messages.
Right.
But the UN reported last August that they estimate that hundreds of thousands of people from around the world have been trafficked into Southeast Asia for running these scams.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, jeez.
Many said they traveled to these countries such as Cambodia and Myanmar in response to job ads and promises of many perks. I'm sure none of those perks include a guy walking around with a gun. And once they're trapped, they are threatened if they refuse to participate in these scams. Escapees and survivors have alleged torture and inhuman treatment, which does not surprise me. And to say the governments are upset about this is an understatement. China has actually offered rewards for these people who are running these scams in Myanmar, and these centers were run by Chinese mafia families, apparently. And many of those people that Myanmar has arrested have been sent back to China in recent months. So I wonder what happened to those guys.
I don't know. I'd seen some coverage of, I'm not sure if it was this exact incident, but I have seen some coverage where evidently the Chinese government was coordinating with the Filipino government, to get their people back. Right,
because in this scam center alone, there were 202 Chinese citizens.
Yeah,
and China went after them, went to try to get them back. Actually, not in this case. In this case, it was one Vietnamese person that escaped, managed to get out, and let and somebody who saw him and knew him, the farmer guy, let the authorities know. So I'm happy that happened. Because then otherwise, who knows? Maybe this scam never would have been uncovered, or this scam center, because it's not just one scam. There are thousands of scams being run out of here, and it's victims on both ends of the scam.
Yeah.
Boy. Well, and how many of these scam centers exist all over the world?
Oh, I'm sure there's many more than this one. I'm sure there's more in the Philippines.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, I think, to see if we see a crackdown on these things, because you can't run an operation that's this big without somebody noticing what's going on.
Yeah. I don't know. There are operations, human trafficking operations that operate everywhere in the world, and for some reason they seem to escape notice. And they're moving massive amounts of people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get how this isn't something somebody just walks into and goes, "What's going on here?"
Right. Right, and they get a gun waved in their face, and they say, "Turn around, leave. You didn't see anything." And they say, "All right, have a good day."
Right,
and away they go.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just wild to think that it's happening for in aid of scamming people, though.
Right.
I don't know, in my head, when I think of a scammer in some far off country doing stuff, it's someone who's opportunistic and trying to make a living in some way, in a way that I don't like, but.
Like a side hustle almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or trying to take advantage of gullible Westerners or something. Not a person who's trafficked. I mean.
Right.
Wow.
One of the things that is talked about in this article is they use the Chinese nationals to go after other Chinese nationals.
Mm.
Because they speak the language, right? And they speak with the right accents. And it lowers the level of suspicion.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I don't know, what's to be done about this other than, like I said, because we're talking about cross-border types of things, I suppose you get pressure and put pressure on the nations who are allowing this sort of thing. But at the same time, you look at how hard it is for us to get ransomware operators out of Russia. We got to wait for them to go on vacation somewhere.
They're never going to be extradited.
Yeah.
Also, Myanmar is going through a bit of a political turmoil right now. I don't even know if there is a political leader there. There's been a coup, I think. I was reading something about it today, and I can't remember exactly everything what goes on in there. But it's not a stable political situation, to say the least.
Right.
So people are taking advantage, as often happens in these situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. Well, we will have a link to that story in the show notes. Maria, what do you have for us this week?
Nothing like that story.
Right. We like to open with the dark ones, I guess.
Wow. Yeah, I guess. Mine is, I guess, more timely because I saw it happening on my LinkedIn feed the other day. So it's about tech recruiting scams that are going on right now. They seem to be happening apace. Got a lot of people who are out of work right now. A lot of people are looking for jobs. And I saw a post from Dice, which is one of the major tech recruiting boards, basically saying they've also been seeing they're seeing reports and getting reports from their users of a huge uptick in people posing as fake job recruiters. And ultimately, these fake job recruiters are going on job boards and marketplaces like Dice, like LinkedIn, and many others. And ultimately, they lead their victims into a phishing scam. So that is the end goal. So Dice was putting out this post saying, you got to look for red flags in these fake job postings. And a lot of the red flags are common phishing scams that we're all very familiar with, like bad spelling and grammar, requesting your PII like right away, give me your social security number, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those are kind of dead giveaways. But I was sort of thinking, I guess I was in a dark space thinking about this. I know a lot of people who've been out of work for a long time. And I know I've been in that situation. You get really tired and you also start feeling a little desperate. And I know these scammers are taking advantage of that. Yep. Especially if you're really super tired of the job hunt after a certain point. Some of the red flags that Dice was saying, I think I could see me falling for, and I guess I'm telling a scammer to come after me right now. But
but you're gainfully employed, Maria.
Right.
So.
I am gainfully employed, but I'm just saying, I could imagine myself in previous situations falling for some of this stuff. For example, like Dice was saying, to be aware of unrealistic urgency. Things like, hey, there's a limited position available, or we need your resume as soon as possible. Or even getting a communication through an unusual channel like text messaging instead of a phone call. And I've definitely gotten text outreach on jobs. I've also definitely gotten legitimate messages from recruiters saying, hey, we're looking to fill this role right away. We need to talk to you in the next 48 hours because we've got a couple other candidates and we want to get you in the queue. Whether or not that's true, I don't care, but that's often what the recruiters will say.
Yeah. It's the high pressure sales trick.
It is. And admittedly, because recruiters, they make their money off of getting you a job. So they want to make money as soon as they can too. So Dice was saying, and good on them for saying this, that job seekers need to be wary of their offers, especially if you have put on LinkedIn, like a lot of people have, that green open for work banner under your name. That's telling people publicly, hey, I'm looking for work. It's great for letting your network know. I've seen a lot of people have some success using that. But scammers are unfortunately also keeping an eye out for stuff like that and people that they can prey on. I was there. They had a really interesting post about job seekers, how they can protect themselves, what they needed to keep an eye out for. We'll link for it for folks. And their advice is good advice to make sure that you can verify the claim of the job coming at you. If something seems off, go to the company directly and say, hey, is this a legitimate job posting, or is this recruiter actually working for you? If they can't verify it, then, you've averted a crisis on your own side. One thing that I often like to do is move that conversation off of text to an actual phone call.
Right.
And if they don't want to do that, then, there's another red flag for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I had seen someone I know actually had gotten a cold outreach for, he's on the job hunt right now. And he had gotten cold outreach from a company that supposedly was called Therapy Notes. And the fake recruiter was using an email that was therapynotesjobs.com, or another one was therapynotescareers.com. And again, if you've been looking for jobs for a while, you might go, that looks pretty legit.
Right.
And so I believe this fake recruiter using those emails was sending out a questionnaire saying, I need a response from you within 24 hours to move ahead on this job. So again, there's that fake urgency. And thankfully, my friend, because he's worked at a cybersecurity company in the past, he knew to actually verify whether this posting was real, whether that recruiter was working for this company. And thankfully, he averted a crisis. But it's just amazing how these scammers are trying to take advantage of people in really vulnerable situations, using some incredible tricks and wearing out people who are already very tired. So,
yeah. A couple things come to mind here. I wonder, first of all, if I were a scammer, would an effective technique be to look for a real job offer, look for a company who is looking to recruit someone, use that real job offering as the basis for my scam. So that way, let's say, Maria, I reach out to you and I say, listen, I see that your skills perfectly align with this job. I'd love to talk to you about it. That way, if you were to call the company and say, is this job real? The company would say, absolutely.
Yeah. I think I saw something about this today on some place. And it may have been while I was looking for my story today. But
I wouldn't be surprised. It was a pretty recent posting from DICE because there's so much of this going on right now. So I really would not be surprised if you came across it as well.
Now, I was talking about exactly what Dave was describing, that they have a legitimate posting, but they're not real recruiters. I think maybe I saw it on LinkedIn. Maybe it was somebody's page on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so it's not enough to just verify the job. You have to also verify that the recruiter is real.
Right.
Because in the case of this therapy notes job, one that I was mentioning, the scammer was using a legitimate employee's name also. So part of the reason I saw this is I saw the legitimate employee posting something saying, hey, there's somebody pretending to be me. I am not posting this job out there. And there were a whole bunch of comments saying, oh yeah, I got contacted by that guy too. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so my other question is, what is a appropriate amount of information to share with a job recruiter? What's the limit?
Certainly not yours. Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. I was going to say, if they're a third-party recruiter, your resume, and that's it. And that should have your contact information on it. A third-party recruiter will not need your PII, and you shouldn't need any PII until you have a job offer, which you'll have to vet and make sure it's right. Because a lot of times the way these scams work is they very quickly become, they very quickly send you a job offer. And then they say, okay, well, let me get all your PII. So, I mean, that's all entirely possible as well. But an in-house recruiter also probably shouldn't be asking you for PII before you have a job offer.
That's right.
So definitely anybody asking you for that information before a job offer or before even an interview, that's a red flag for me.
Yeah. And I was just thinking the old advice might have been, you're going to meet with somebody in person at some point. So, that's sort of your moment. But if it's a fully remote job, certain things like an interview can be faked. I've heard stories of fake interviews. People can string you along all the way through to a pretty legitimate job offer. So I actually don't know what the advice is for saying make sure that remote only job you're applying for is a real one.
Right.
Aside from maybe trust your gut and just really do your research that this is a real offer and a real company.
Yeah. I wonder if it would make sense. I mean, if you could you reach out to HR at the company specifically and say, this is one of the job I'm applying for. This is who I'm talking to. Would that help? But it would help, but it still seems to me like it's probably imperfect.
Yeah, especially if, these companies often are small and HR is also sales, is also engineering. It's also the CEO.
Right, exactly. It's a startup. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I really feel sympathy for a lot of people who are looking for jobs right now. I can't think of like a perfect way to say, I don't know. Joe, I'm curious if you have advice on this.
Yeah, I don't know. This is, like I said, don't give out any PII until you have a job offer. Make sure that this thing is, do everything you can within your power to vet the job. If it is a remote company that has an office site somewhere, maybe you insist upon going there to meet people. If it's a remote job that's local to you, you can travel to it. If it's not, they should buy you a plane ticket and have you come over there. Scammers aren't going to lay out $700 for a round trip plane ticket for you.
Right.
So
I'm curious, if any of our listeners are actually recruiters. I'd love to know how you all as a profession are dealing with this issue.
Yeah.
How are you putting people at ease to let them, how do you verify you are who you say you are? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I'd love to know that answer too. It's I imagine recruiters really hate that this is happening. It's making their job a lot worse.
Right,
So,
yeah. It doesn't make their job any easier that much.
This has given me a very vague recollection, and it is incomplete, and, I grant my memory is not what it used to be, but I have a very vague recollection of, like, when I was, the first round of serious job hunting I ever did, like right out of college, I want to say that my resume had my Social Security number on it. Does that seem like a thing to you, Joe? Do you have any recollection of that? I mean, I went to a big state school, and our student ID was our Social Security number.
Yeah,
right?
Driver's licenses used to do that too. Yes,
Right,
yeah,
right.
Yep.
My student ID was also
crazy
my
now.
SSN. But I don't know. No, I never put it on my resume.
Okay.
I think it's actually engraved on the inside of one of my class rings somewhere that I don't wear.
Really?
Yeah, because it was a recommendation. Put your student ID on the inside of the ring so they can get it back to you. And I'm like, okay, well, that's also my Social Security number. So now I have to melt that down.
Just hit that part with a soldering iron.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, boy, it was a different time.
I don't even wear that ring,
Mhm.
and I've never worn that ring. I've
Sure seemed like a good idea at the time, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Well, if you lose that ring now, you have two problems. So that's
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, before we get to my story, we're going to take a quick break to hear a message from our sponsor. Back to the concept of integrations. KnowBe4's Security Coach uses standard APIs to quickly and easily integrate with your existing security products from vendors like Microsoft, CrowdStrike, Cisco, and dozens of others. Security Coach analyzes alerts your security stack generates to identify events related to any risky security behavior from your users. With this information, you can set up real-time coaching campaigns to target risky users based on those events from your network, endpoint, identity, or web security vendors. These campaigns enable you to coach your users at the moment the risky behavior occurs, with contextual security tips delivered via Microsoft Teams, Slack, or email. With 35 integrations and counting, Security Coach delivers the insight you need to improve your organization's security culture. Learn more about Security Coach at knowbefore.com/securitycoach. That's knowbefore.com/securitycoach. All right, we are back. I'm going to round out our stories this week. Actually have, I think you could put this in the good news category.
Oh, good.
Hooray! That'd be great.
So the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, has approved a voluntary cybersecurity labeling program for wireless IoT products.
Nice.
Yeah. So they're calling it the U.S. Cyber Trust Mark, and companies who put this on their devices will have verified that they are in compliance with the NIST cybersecurity standards, with stuff like strong passwords, data protection, and the ability to do a software update on their device. And so they're looking to enhance security for stuff like baby monitors and home security cameras and fitness trackers, anything that's wireless.
Right.
And people are comparing this to some of the initiatives from the earlier days of computing, like the Energy Star sticker,
Right.
Yeah.
that sort of thing, where totally voluntary. But I think certainly for some consumers, if they were shopping around, that might influence them to choose one option over another. If this has been certified, it's going to, for Energy Star, going to save me some money. It's going to, help the baby polar bears and all that kind of stuff.
I'm more concerned about my network than I am the baby polar bears, I guess.
Sure.
But so I'm going to be looking for
Why not both? Yeah.
Why not both? You're right, 100%. But this is great news. And I agree with you, Dave. If you're, and like the Energy Star thing, there's going to be a certain subset of people that this appeals to, right? Like Energy Star appeals to me because I like a lower power bill.
Right.
But cybersecurity markings appeal to me because, we live and breathe this stuff. So, I'm going to be looking for this.
Yeah, they're saying that a bunch of the major retailers are on board with Amazon, Best Buy, companies like Samsung, and they're hoping that this becomes a global standard, not just here in the U.S. I have to say, when I read this story, I had a little skepticism about stuff coming from Amazon because of how fast and loose Amazon plays with, everything.
I had the exact same thought. Exact same thought. Yep.
So
I thought that about
can't
Samsung,
imagine Amazon doing a whole lot of policing on this of, every device having this slapped on. But who knows? It's possible that, the FCC, maybe they'll team up with their buddies at the FTC and have some scrutiny here over the misuse of the U.S. cyber trust mark. We can only hope, right?
I would hope there would be a list that the FCC publishes, sort of like they do with other things. Or maybe it's not the FCC. FTC does. Somebody does.
Yeah.
Where you can look it up. You can look up the product and see, is it actually certified? So you don't have to trust a random label on a box. You can actually go and verify yourself.
I wonder if this means we can now have private conversations in front of our Samsung TVs.
Right. Or in front of your baby monitor.
Right.
No, this is so needed, especially with a baby monitor conversation. I've had that chat with a lot of different parents, and they're like, which one do you use? I'm like, just not anything internet enabled, but that's very hard for a lot of people. So helping people with that decision making is very needed. So I think it's a great move. It's a great move.
I did an interview one time for a local TV station about one of the baby monitor hacks. It wasn't a hack. This family just got an IP camera and didn't change the default password. Somebody found it on Shodan or something and logged into it and started yelling at their baby while the baby was sleeping because it had two-way communication.
Oh,
And
I
I was talking to the newscaster. I said, well, if you think this is bad, wait till your refrigerator's online. And he goes, ha, ha, ha. And man, that has turned out to be just terrible as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
One of the things I say about this being the easiest part of this job is just look at something and go, that's not going to end well. And 9 times out of 10, you're right.
It's great for the cynics. Yes, that's true.
You can look like Nostradamus.
When I was a teenager, I stumbled across the fact that I had an AM radio that I guess could tune slightly out of bounds of the AM band. And I could hear one of my neighbor's cordless telephones through it.
Oh,
Really?
Yep. Yep.
AM or FM? No, I'm thinking about
AM. Yep. AM.
Anything
this is
juicy
when you were
or
a
no?
teenager.
Yeah, so we're talking back in the 80s. So this is first generation cordless phones. No encryption, no. This is in the clear, RF, not digital.
Yep.
Just blasting out a signal for all to hear. And I was scrolling around on the radio one day and I heard what sounded like a phone conversation and I went, what is this? And then it didn't take me too long to go, oh, I know who this is.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine if you and I had had software-defined radios when we were kids.
Oh my gosh. There are so many things that I am thankful
Yeah.
did not exist when I was a teenager
Oh.
because I don't know that I would have been able to resist.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Like what, Dave?
Well, I mean, just there's so much of the hacking. Look, I did my fair share of phone freaking back in the day. I am amazed that no one from the phone company came knocking on my parents' door and said, listen, why is your phone dialing sequential numbers between the hours of 3 and 5 a.m. every day?
Yeah, they never did that.
No. Yeah, I mean, it was an innocent time, and I think with some of the tools that are out there today, I probably would have gotten in a lot more trouble. I'm just glad we didn't have cell phone cameras. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or social media.
Evidence. I mean, just
Yeah.
so much evidence of all of our. I don't know.
That's what I say whenever something interesting is happening and somebody pulls out a cell phone. I go, remember, that's evidence.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. All right. Well, those are our stories for this week. Of course, we would love to hear from you. If there's something you'd like us to include on the show, you can email us. It's hackinghumans@n2k.com. Joe, Maria, it is time to move on to our catch of the day.
Our catch of the day comes from Mark, who sent a story in. So, do you want to read this one?
Sure.
There you go.
It says, hi, Dave, Joe, and Maria. See, Maria, you're getting mail.
Right.
Oh my gosh, hi.
This was actually, the listener put this in their salutation.
Well, hi, Mark. Thanks for including me.
It says, recently, my girlfriend was part of a fairly elaborate scam in the employment recruiting field. She's been unemployed and applying endlessly, but recently a recruiting manager for a legitimate company contacted her to connect for an employment opportunity.
Dave,
Uh-huh.
I just remembered where I heard what I was going to talk about.
Oh, God.
Was it this?
Yes.
No.
Wow, your mind is like a steel vice, Joe.
It's not anymore, it isn't, Dave. It's
Continuing. She let me know, and I did as much research on this company and this person before she continued communicating with them. The company is legitimate and is hiring for the position this recruitment manager was discussing. The hiring and human resource managers she spoke with are actual people at the legitimate company, but the people she communicated with were simply posing as these legitimate people.
Oh.
Unfortunately, she ended up supplying them with a W-2 and photos of her driver's license, along with other PII, except banking information. This lasted about a week, with interviews being done over a Zoom chat and various phone calls made. The big red flag came when we received 3 checks in the mail for office supplies and the hiring bonus.
aha.
The total of these checks was $12,000, and she was, at that point, instructed to deposit these checks and send money via Zelle to the verified vendor for the company to purchase her work-from-home equipment. At this point, I started going through the communication logs and, clear as day, noticed it was a scam. Unfortunately, during this process, I never saw any of the communication myself until the very end. I had only received the names of the company and people to look up. At this point, I was absolutely torn apart. I failed to protect her, and they were able to add another victim to their list.
Oh.
After a few days of police reports, changing login credentials, and implementing MFA, not just 2FA, she finally feels somewhat protected, but at what cost? I share this story in hopes that it may warn others who are unemployed or simply looking for new employment opportunities. In most cases, these scammers know this group of people is more vulnerable because they need work. As the old saying goes, if it sounds too good to be true, run.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And that must, I don't know why I didn't remember that this was the catch of the day. And I'm kind of embarrassed that I didn't. But anyway, it sounds like Mark's girlfriend got off pretty easy, that she didn't lose any money. Am I reading that right, do you think?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
I don't think she should
Mark
cash
says
those
he's torn
checks. Yeah.
apart and
Yeah.
failed to protect her, but
Right.
he does not say specifically whether or not there was money lost.
Yeah. I mean, there was PII lost, and that's going to have long ramifications. So
Right.
my advice, Mark, go out and go to Chex Systems, CHEX Systems, lock down your girlfriend's information there, and then maybe put a credit freeze at the 3 credit bureaus. And you can just Google how to do that, and it comes up pretty quickly. Credit freezes and check system freezes are free. They can't charge you for it. You can unfreeze them whenever you want to go out and open up an account on your own, and they don't charge you for that. So, that's probably your best defense at this point, because they got a lot of information. The W-2 has a lot of personally identifiable information on it.
Yeah.
It's got your name, your address, it probably has your birth date, social security number. I don't remember. Does a W-2 have your birthday on it? It might.
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's got
surprise
everything.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's a terrible form for the IRS to mandate, but they do. I guess they need to establish your identity as well to properly tax you.
Right.
But I mean that's really the best option right now.
You know what else Mark could do? As a gift, Mark could buy his girlfriend a subscription to a credit monitoring company.
So romantic.
Right?
Can you imagine? Put a red bow on it.
Right.
Nothing a lady wants more than that.
Right, exactly. Just let me show you how much I love you.
Make sure you
birthday,
put it in a Tiffany box. Just that's a pro tip from me. Like one of those, the blue Tiffany boxes. She'll love that.
The one that the people usually put rings in, or
Indeed.
right.
Oh, yeah, that'll go over real well.
It'll go over so well.
Oh, Mark, what is this? I got you identity theft protection.
Yeah.
Oh, you shouldn't have.
If everything goes well, nothing will happen.
Right.
You can thank me.
Right. That's the motto of cybersecurity professionals everywhere.
Yeah.
If everything goes well, nothing will happen.
Right. Yeah. We spent all this money and nothing happened. Can we increase my budget next year? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Mark, for sending that in. That is an interesting story for sure. We do appreciate it. We want to thank all of you for listening, and of course, we want to thank our sponsors at KnowBefore. They are experts at enabling a fully integrated approach to security awareness training. That is our show. We want to thank all of you for listening. Our thanks to the Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute for their participation. You can learn more at isi.jhu.edu. Maria, how can folks find out more about the T-Minus podcast?
Oh, you can join me every day and download T-Minus Space daily on your favorite podcast provider, or go to space.n2k.com to find out more.
All right. A quick reminder that N2K Strategic Workforce Intelligence optimizes the value of your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your team while making your team smarter. Learn more at n2k.com. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. This show is mixed by Trey Hester. Our executive editor is Peter Kilpie. I'm Dave Bittner.
I'm Joe Kerrigan.
And I'm Maria Varmazes.
Thanks for listening. We know there's an experience gap in cybersecurity, and companies are often enamored with the idea of building teams of superstars. But focusing on a team of unicorns just feeds the talent gap. Join N2K's Simone Petrella and Intuit's Kim Jones on Wednesday, March 27th for an online discussion about the pivotal role security leaders play in shaping the security workforce landscape and how we can start showing up for the future of our industry. Visit our show notes for details and to register.